Welcome to the weekend preview and injury report as Monster Energy AMA Supercross heads to Seattle. I'm Sarah Whitmore Smodgy. These are news updates, but in Seattle, it's the same old story. Watching the weather with the open stadium, that is Lumen Field. So the weather report this week is important, and it says it's probably going to rain leading up to the race. The track is already covered. Press day riding is already canceled. But it appears it will not rain on Saturday. So there's a chance that the track will be affected by the rain, but it might not be a full-on mud race. However, the effects are already felt. We believe some of the sections of the track seen in the original track map will be removed to make for a simpler build. This will make it easier for the riders to navigate the track since the rain during the week will make for softer conditions. Either way, with every single stadium left on the 2025 schedule being an open roof building, and pretty much every city being one that could have rough weather in the springtime, look forward to a mud race at least at some point. Just not sure if this weekend will be one or not. Again, remember, this weekend it is not scheduled to rain on actual race day. Other stories to look for? Well, the Triple Crown formats are in the rearview mirror. But it certainly worked out well for Chase Sexton, who won last week and cut Cooper Webb's point lead in half. It's now down to 8 points instead of 15, and that means with 7 rounds still remaining and only 8 points between these two, the title fight is on. What's more, Webb and Sexton put on perhaps their best ever battle against each other at the Seattle race last year, with Webb coming out on top. And let's not forget spoilers, as Malcolm Stewart and Aaron Plessinger were actually able to finish in front of Webb last week and steal more points away. Justin Cooper had been rallying at one point, so Webb does have a teammate who'd like to take some points away from Sexton if a scenario were to develop. And way down the road, don't forget that Eli Tomac is supposed to come back and race some Supercross races before the end of the year. Now that could get crazy. The 250 West resumes this weekend. It certainly has been a chaotic week for Hayden Deegan, even though he was not racing last weekend because the 250 East competed in Birmingham. Deegan has a 12-point lead over Julian Beaumer. It will be interesting to see if Juju continues to get better. He had a shoulder injury dating back to Arlington, but there have been several off weeks for these West riders. Also, the time off gives Joe Shimoda more time to heal up from those broken fingers. Speaking of all that, let's get into the injury report brought to you by our friends at Leah. Let's start with the 450 class. Cade Clayson, still out with a broken arm, hopes to return to racing in either Foxborough or Philadelphia. Hunter Lawrence, Jet Lawrence, and Jorge Prado are all out with injuries. You already knew that. Same thing for Tomac. Ken Roczen sustained an AC joint separation in his shoulder, but he did race last weekend. He is in pain but will race Seattle. Joey Savacci crashed hard in Indianapolis and then was run into by his own bike. At this time, there is no specified date for his return as he suffered a punctured lung and broken ribs. In 250 West, Drew Adams is still out with a broken collarbone sustained in Glendale. We mentioned Beaumer racing through injury. Big injuries for the Frenchman, Anthony Bourdon. He is out with hip, pelvis, and back injuries. Ryder DeFrancesco, we believe he's back on the bike, but do not have a specified return to racing date for him. Derek Drake, out with Lyme disease. Evan Ferry tore his Achilles at Anaheim 1. Billy Laninovich hurt his wrist earlier in the season. He did plan to return to Seattle, but he is still out for this weekend. Talon Hawkins is out with a femur injury. Ty Masterpool is out with broken fingers. Jet Reynolds, tough break, broken leg, out for the rest of Supercross. Styles Robertson, still dealing with a wrist injury situation. He is out for at least the rest of Supercross. Robbie Wageman, also a wrist injury, but he might be back at Denver. The final piece of information lies with Jordan Smith. He's healing from broken ribs suffered in Arlington, but we still have not heard if he's been cleared to race this weekend. That's your report. Everything you need to know quickly as the championship heads to Seattle, and it appears things are just heating up.